Hello there and welcome back. My name is Fotios.
And I'm Eleanor.
Hello there and welcome back. My name is Fotios.
And I'm Mark, and this is The Game Court.
And today with Mark we're going to discuss about 10 great expansions.
Yes, and we've chosen 5 each today. Shall I kick off with my first one?
Go for it.
Okay, the first one I've chosen is Open Doors, which is an expansion for the Taverns of Tiefenthal. It's actually called Open Doors, the first expansion, but it came out quite a while ago and there hasn't been an expansion since. So I think it's probably the only expansion there's going to be. Taverns of Tiefenthal, even in the base game, came with a lot of modules, so there was quite a bit of variability in the game. And this expansion is really just some extra modules. So it doesn't bloat the game out, which is a problem I have with a lot of expansions. You can take out different modules and mix and match and put in different things. In Taverns of Tiefenthal, you have a tavern, a pub that you're running, and you deck build different guests to come to the tavern. In the expansion, you can add rooms to the tavern so that guests can stay overnight. You can start serving wine, so you're really going up market, not just beer and schnapps, but wine now, and various other modules that you can put in. There's some variable player, so it sort of makes the start a little bit more asymmetric for the players. I'm not so keen on that. I prefer a more symmetric start to the game, but because it's all modular, you can put in and take out the bits that you like and don't like. So it all fits in the base game box,
Which is important.
which is another big plus if your shelves are groaning with games. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Have you played this one?
I have played the base game and I think I have played the expansion as well. Rhys, I think, has it as well.
He does indeed. Yes.
And it's a very nice game, very enjoyable game, has a very nice deck building aspect, and I like how different parts of your board upgrade over the time.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So it's not quite more of the same. It's different modules, but it is more modular things that you can plug in.
Correct. I will also go with a modular expansion first. It's the Ladies of Troyes for a game called Troyes. And Troyes is basically a dice-based game where you have not really your own dice, but the dice that cost less to you. But you can basically steal dice from any player and do different actions on the board. The game itself has a lot of variability, but with expansion, this variability increases even further. You have new action cards. You have the rampart guards that go around the board and give access to different actions to different places. You also have the purple die, which is the head of the family, which is only your die. Nobody can steal it from you, and it can be either red, white, or yellow. And you have also new scoring cards, because one good aspect of Troyes is that each one of us has secretly some scoring cards for the end of the game, and we don't know which ones we have because some of them are out of the game, but we try to figure out, Mark is doing this, so most likely he has this scoring card, so I rather do this too. So this expansion gives you even more scoring cards, so even more variability, so a bit of more chaos, I would say, but equally it's a very nice expansion. You can put in as many modules as you wish. Usually we play with all of them. And it gives a lot of extra play to the game with the variability aspect. You have played it, right?
I have played. I've not played without the expansion.
Okay.
We played with the expansion. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
Yeah. I have a question.
Yes.
Would you play the game without the expansion?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, the two major elements of the expansion is the head of the family dice that is the purple die, and also the guards that go around the board. The guards that go around the board, maybe it's a bit of a distraction, I would say, maybe, but the game itself has a lot of variability in terms of action cards, so if you have played the game 5, 6, 7 times, then you may add the expansion for a bit more variability, but even without the expansion, the game is fantastic, I would say.
That was something I tried to consider when I was trying to think of good expansions. I thought, well, if an expansion just makes the base game good, and you always use the expansion, then it doesn't seem like a good expansion, that it just seems something that's fixing the base game for you.
And it fits in the box.
Yes, true. My next one fits in the box, which is a very tiny box. In the newer versions of this come with the expansion in a bigger tin. This is a Rainer Knizia game. It's called Heckmeck and Bratwurmeck, because I have a German copy. I think it's called Picamino most places. It's a dice game, so a very good Rainer Knizia dice game, but that's quite a crowded field anyway. The expansion comes with just a few little extra pieces. So in this game, you're rolling your dice, and it's a push your luck dice game. So you keep rolling, increasing your score, and seeing how many worms you can pick off the barbecue, because your chicken's barbecuing worms is the theme.
I haven't played this one.
No,
Bring it, yes.
I shall bring it along sometime. Roll the dice, increase your score as much as you are willing to before going bust. The expansion has some extra worms to go on the barbecue, some lower scoring ones, so that if you don't roll particularly well, there's still something you can get from the barbecue, which is nice. It's got some little extra meeples that you can get that sit on some of the worms. So when you get that meeple, you can re-roll your dice once a turn, or you can start stealing worms from people. So there's various bits in this expansion. It's unusual for a Knizia game to get an expansion. I don't think he does very many expansions.
He does new games.
Yes, yes, indeed, yeah, variations of the game. Yeah, true. But this is an expansion for Heckmeck or Picamino, which is called Extrawurm.
So what is the recommended player count for Picamino?
Picamino goes from, on the box it says 2 to 7 players. With the expansion, it still goes to 7 players. 7 players, I think you'd probably be sitting and waiting around for a little while, but the game's so light. If you want a little party game and you don't want to be focused 100%, then it's quite nice. 2 players, I'd say, is fine, but there's lots and lots of brilliant 2-player games, some of which are by Knizia as well. But I'd say 3, 4, 5 would be my recommended player counts.
Okay, my next expansion is for Barrage. It's called the Leeghwater Project expansion. And this expansion is a bit more horizontal, I would say, in the sense that it adds quite a few elements, new elements in the game. Barrage itself, it's a worker placement game that you try to generate energy from dams. And in this particular expansion, you have even more worker placement positions. So you have the so-called external works that you can take some very powerful tiles, which are like contract tiles you can activate in your turn, but you have to burn some machinery. Then you have the buildings, which if you unlock them, these actions, they give you extra action spaces that are quite powerful during the game and some points. And of course, you have a couple of new executive officers and a new function. So you have now 5 different functions of the base game, which change the game quite significantly. I know you don't like very much asymmetry in the game, no. but yeah, the executive officers and the new functions give you even more asymmetry from the base game. Overall, it's a very good expansion, and also it keeps the tight element of the game even tighter, in the sense that yes, you have more worker placement positions, but you have the same amount of workers. So you have to decide very carefully where to deploy them to get the maximum out of them.
Okay. Does this expansion change the map at all in Barrage, or is the map with the reservoirs?
No, it doesn't change the map. Yeah, the map is the same. There's another expansion, the Nile expansion, that changes the map. And of course, in the newest Kickstarter of Barrage, there were 2 more maps. And I got actually, we backed the one of the maps, which is for dual player, because, you know, Barrage, it works better for 3 or 4 players. So there's now a condensed map, official condensed map to players only.
Oh, I'd be interested to try that. I've played it 2 players and it felt like there was lots of space.
Correct.
I played it at 4 players and it made me cry because I couldn't do anything.
I think 3 players is the good point for this game, for the base map. But now with the new expansions, I think that we can go for 2 or 4 players as well.
Okay, excellent. My next choice is Innovation, a card game by Carl Chuddock, and I have the first expansion for that game, which is called Echoes. I've got the yellow version of the game, which has got some slightly nicer artwork, I think, but not so clear to read. The first version that came out and all the versions that have been published since, I think, come from Asmadi Games, and there's a Kickstarter at the moment for an all-in version of this. But I've got the yellow version, which they've only ever printed just the one expansion for it, Echoes of the Past. I really like Innovation. It's in my top 10. Was it in my top 10 games?
I don't remember.
Okay, no.
You should remember.
I should remember that, shouldn't I? Glory to Rome was definitely in my top 10, which is another game.
Yes.
I can't remember whether Innovation was or not, but it should be. It's an excellent game. I'll just as happily play the base game as the base game with the expansion. It introduces just doubles the number of cards. You play with 2 decks, in effect, of cards, the ones from the base game and the Echoes. all the cards are just as unbalanced as the cards in the original game. So this card is called Sudoku. So you can create a Sudoku, put the card into play. It's got little influence bonuses on it, and if you have 9 different influence bonuses, that's it. You win the game. So as soon as you see somebody put that out, you need to make sure that you're battling against it. So, and which is similar to a lot of the cards in Innovation. So Echoes of the Past just gives you a few more mechanics, different ways to score, a lot more variety on the cards. It just fits in very well with the game.
We now have Innovation, the 3rd edition, not the yellow version.
Yep.
But I haven't played it. We played half of a learning game with Elena, and we were in a very windy environment, so we couldn't really continue playing. Yeah.
Right.
And we haven't played since. It's one of the games that I really want to go into. And I understand that the more you play the game, the better it becomes, because you start learning the cards and what's going.
Yeah. People have certain cards out, and you need to be aware that that card is out and start fighting against them. Otherwise, they will just crank through that card over and over again, just pulling more and more points in.
Yeah.
So yeah, it does help to know the cards a little bit. And I'd say 2 or 3 players. It probably goes to 4 or 5 with the expansion, perhaps, but 2 or 3 players would be the maximum, I'd say.
The next game I would like to discuss about is called Concordia, and there are many expansions for Concordia. There's the solitary expansion, for instance, which allows you to play solo or cooperative against a bot. But what I'm talking about now, Concordia, I'm talking about the expansions when it comes to the maps, different maps. Because the base game of Concordia comes with one board of 2 maps. One of them is suitable for 5 players, I have to say. The other one is maybe for 3-4 players. But we love Concordia so much, so we'd like to play with 2 players only. So a very particular map for this is the Creta, I think it's called, on one side, and Egypt on the other side. It's a very good tight, the Creta one at least, it's a very good tight map for 2 players. So you can enjoy Concordia in low player count. Even the new map of Concordia, which is called Sicily and Roma, Sicily on one side and Roma on the other side, is also a very good map for lower player counts. And the new map introduce also some new instructions, some new different rules, which do not change the game considerably, but they give this extra flavor that you want, this variation from game to game. So yeah, it's a very nice expansion, it's a very nice game, and it's good to have this variability of the maps that build different strategy. The game itself has a lot of variability anyway, the way you put the tiles out of the different cities, what they produce, etc. And for me, again, Concordia is one of the most elegant games I have played, in the sense that you have a set of cards, you play a card, you do what the card says, and it's as simple as that. It's very simple to teach it, but very deep in strategy, I would say.
It's a Matt Gertz
game,
is that right?
Gertz,
yes, and I do like his games. They tend to be quite simple on the rules, and all the complexity comes from the players that you're playing against.
You have played, of course, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, and I like it a lot. So the expansion is just literally a map board.
A map, yes.
Yeah, perfect.
Some of the maps come with some tokens, some extra tokens, because, they have some extra rules, like the Sicily map. It has a volcanic eruption, so you have to see how the volcanic eruption goes. So some regions become unavailable to produce or to build. They change the rules slightly, but in a good way. I think they give a bit more variability in the game.
Okay, my next choice is Memoir 44, which was definitely in my top 10.
It was, yes.
I would recommend. The base game has just got loads of scenarios available in the box and online. There's so much play in that box that it was hard for me to choose a particular expansion. It's a deep hole to dive into in terms of expansions. There are lots of expansions, some of which go in and out of print and get hard to get. One of the expansions is just a bag to put everything in, so you can tell just how many expansions there are. I've gone for the Mediterranean theatre, but I could have chosen Winter Wars, Eastern Front. They all introduce a new army, so maybe you get some British soldiers or you get the Russian troops. Mediterranean theatre's got a Japanese army in it. It's got a few different terrain tiles, so you get caves. So all of a sudden, one of the armies can use the cave network, which allows them to pop up at different points in the map. But it doesn't change the game dramatically. It just gives a few small variations. And like I say, I would play with this expansion or without this expansion, or with one of any of the many expansions available.
Nice. I haven't played Memoir 44 at all, and I would really like to try at some point. It's one of these war games that, with figurines, with dudes on the map.
Yes.
Right?
So Memoir 44 is typically I play it head to head, although you can, with a wider map or a deeper map, play 4 players against 4 players.
All right.
So that's very nice. We should maybe set up.
Yeah, that'll be a holiday, right?
It'll take a little bit longer to play. Yes, one person from each side is the commander who gives the cards out to the 3 players who play on the left flank, the right flank, and the centre. Yes, it's one of those games that you have to be okay with. Sometimes the cards not going your way, or the dice rolls not working for you. But yes, I think that would be a very fun day.
My next pick is Spirecrest, which is an expansion for Everdell, and Everdell is an amazing game by itself, but it was one of the first games we acquired in our collection, and we have played so many times that, at some point we said, okay, we need something different now. And we looked around the expansions, because I think there are 3 of them, maybe 4 of them, and one of them, Belfer, was a modular expansion, and this Spirecrest looks a bit different. Basically, what you do, you have an extra piece of board at the bottom of the map, and then there you have a trail for your rabbit to go around. You have some adverse weather effects, you have some extra cards you pick that give you more benefits, and it doesn't really take you away from the game, because you interact with this extra element of the game only when you change season, which is for me a good thing. It gives you some more strategic decisions, it has some more restrictions, and this is good if you're an experienced player. Yes, you can, let's say you cannot buy from the meadow this season, or if you want to buy a critter, you have to pay 2 extra berries, whatever it is. So it has also this more tighter economy, but a bit more extra benefits, a bit more variability, some ongoing elements, some ongoing ability, some more instant benefits, and it changed the game in a good way, but I don't know how it compares really with the other Everdell expansions, so I cannot comment on that because I haven't played the other expansions, but this one is very good and I would recommend it. Have you played Everdell?
I have played Everdell. I have a copy of Everdell, which I like very much, and I play it quite a bit when we go to the board game club on Tuesdays. It's very nice for not totally new players, but people who've only played a couple of different board games. It's not too complicated to explain, and it flows quite nicely. It's not too take-that-y. There's 1 or 2 cards that can cause a bit of negative interaction, but
correct.
So it's very nice. The only question I have about it is, does it fit in the box?
It does. It does fit in the box. And by the way, another thing I would like to mention about Everdell, there is this, let's say, fan-made, not expansion, but a rules change, if you wish. If you play with 2 players Everdell, because the deck is a bit deep, and sometimes you don't get the correct interactions in the deck, there is this 2-deck variant change, that you split the deck into, let's say, the first 2 seasons deck and the last 2 seasons deck, so you get one of these, because if you have the building, then you can get the critter for free, basically. So you get more of these combinations by splitting the deck, and actually works very well for 2 players.
Okay, all right, nice. I was just thinking about box size, because I just talked about Memoir 44 expansions. They don't fit. They don't fit. In fact, Memoir 44 has now started to take boxes from other games. So I've got 2 base game boxes with Memoir stuff in. I've got an expansion box with Memoir stuff in.
But you have the extra bag, right?
I don't have the bag. The bag's hard to get. I have a Zularetto box that's got Memoir stuff in.
All right.
Because the Zularetto expansion, which is not one of my top expansions, but the base game and the expansion fit into the small expansion box.
Oh, really?
Which is even nicer. If you get an expansion in a little box and the base game also fits in it.
Right.
I really think you're winning then. Because then you can put more Memoir 44 things in the base game box from the other game.
Nice.
The last expansion that I've got for today is for Seven Wonders Duel, and it's called Pantheon. There are a couple of expansions available. This was the first one that came out. And for a long time, I didn't even bother looking at this expansion. I really like Seven Wonders Duel, and I was really pleased with the game. I like the way it works, and still, now I've got the expansion, I'll still happily play just the base game, just as happily as adding the extra bits in. I quite like games that are quite lean and edited down. I thought, well, I really love this game. I don't really want to add anything more to it. But Pantheon works really well.
Very well, yes, I agree.
It doesn't add a lot of extra cards. It adds a few tarot-sized cards of the different pantheons, but more importantly, it gives you another a way of just changing the tempo of the game and almost not missing a go, but skipping having to take a card. which, depending on what you like about Seven Wonders Duel, could be a good or a bad thing. But it fits in the base game box. It works really well. It doesn't take a lot of extra setup. It doesn't have a lot of rules overhead, but it does change the base game and makes it not better, but slightly different, which I think is what I want from an expansion.
Before we do this video, of course, we discussed with Mark which expansions each one going to cover, and if you didn't pick that one, I would have picked that one for sure. I think it's a great expansion. As you said, it makes the draw of the cards from the pyramid in the middle a little bit less deterministic, so you cannot really predict what your opponent is going to do, because you have this extra element of playing a god, so you break this sequence, which is very good, in my opinion. I do have the other expansion as well, the Agora.
Yeah, if you were just going to have one,
yeah,
which one would you go for?
It would Pantheon. I really love this game. It's a game that, it's maybe my top 20. It's an amazing game, maybe one of the best two-player games out there. So yeah, I have both expansions. And by the way, both of them fit in the box.
Very nice. And it's not a big box.
Not a big box,
Very
yes.
good.
By the way, these days we're playing with Mark Seven Wonders Duel campaign, which is not an official campaign. It's you can find it on BGG website. It's a fan-made campaign. It has 7 chapters. I think you're losing, right?
We've got one game left to play. And it's all going to turn around in that last game.
Oh, you think so?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Massive fight back.
But it's nice because it changes the base rules of Seven Wonders Duel in so many different fun ways, and tells you, okay, here add Pantheon, here add Agora, here add everything. And it's a nice campaign. If somebody has played the Seven Wonders Duel many times, I think it's something nice to experience as well.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah, and it's there's no legacy to it. It's just a campaign. You can reset it. And
correct.
I think if there was a particular rule change or a leg of the campaign you really liked, you could probably just play that leg.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The last game for today is called Russian Railroads, and the expansions in this game. I'm cheating if I say it came with different expansions. You have the German Railroads, you have the American Railroads, and then you have the big box which is called Ultimate Railroads, within which you also have the Asian Railroads. Now, these expansions give you different player boards, so different tracks with different abilities, different combinations, and to me the game changes as much as you have Birmingham versus Brass Lancashire. The change for me is so significant from player board to player board. Railroads itself, it's a worker placement game with a lot of combinations happening. You build your tracks, you try to upgrade your tracks from, let's say, from copper to silver to gold or whatever it is, to get even more points every round. You have a lot of round income generation, and there's a lot of combinations happening around, because you reach this space, you activate a star, you get a card, you deploy more workers. So it's a very fun game to play, and I really enjoyed it either at 2, 3 or 4 at every player count. I haven't played solo. The Ultimate Railroads come with a solo mode as well, which is another expansion, if you wish, in the game. But yeah, the different German, American and Asian change the game so much that it's so enjoyable and fresh perspective into the game. Have you played at all Russian Railroads?
I had Russian Railroads.
Okay.
I played Russian Railroads. I don't have it anymore. But I think in the spirit of the video, you need to pick just one expansion now. So out of the...
Okay, I will do that.
Okay.
I will choose the Asian Railroads, I think, and that's because it has a new element of how the factory tiles work, because you have a factory board, a common factory board, and there's a bit of competition, interaction of players happening in there as well.
Okay. Yeah. I liked Russian Railroads a lot.
Right, so these are 10 great expansions according to Mark and I, but we would be very happy to hear what are your best expansions across the games you have played. Maybe we are missing something here from the games we already have in our collection and would like to try something different.
Indeed. Make sure they fit in the base game box, though.
Yeah. Self-space is very important for both me and Mark. We don't live in a big US house, I guess, right?
No. Yes, yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much for watching.
And see you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.